Welcome to the I Love Coaching podcast, the show where we help coaches, entrepreneurs, and leaders build businesses that create massive impact. I'm Adam Roach, alongside my incredible co-host,
Jess Weber, and we're here today to bring you the best strategies, mindset shifts, and real-life success stories to help you level up in your coaching journey.
Whether you're launching your coaching business, scaling to 6 or 7 figures, or just looking for inspiration to push through, this podcast is your go-to resource.
We're bringing you expert insights, real talk, and actionable items every single episode. So if you're ready to take your coaching game to the next level,
then let's dive on in. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the I Love Coaching podcast. I'm your host, Adam Roach, with
Jess Weber.
That's right, co-host Jess Weber. Hi, Jess.
Hi, Adam. How's it going?
It is going well. Gosh, you know what? It's a little cold in Charleston right now. I am ready for, it's actually, it's not fair. I'm going to tell you what's not fair.
Uh-oh.
First of all, it's cold where we are. It's not cold, but I mean, come on. It is, it's 64 outside. And my son, love him to pieces. He's down in Boca right now playing in a tennis tournament. And he's like my mother. My mother lives in Naples 75% of the year. He's like, Dad, do you know what the temperature is? I was like, I'm sure I do. If you're down in Boca, go ahead and tell me, son. He's like, Dad, it's going to be like 85 degrees today. And he's like, I think when I choose my college, I want to go as far south as possible. I was like, you're a boy after my own heart.
That's so funny because I'm always like, I don't want to be hot. I will do anything to not be hot.
That is, I would rather sweat than be cold.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Yeah, give me all the layers, give me all the sweatshirts and blankets and all the things. So well, it's just a preference thing. And that's why I was going to say we make such a great team because we like opposites.
That's right. I mean, I'm going to get as close to the equator as possible. And it sounds like you're going to get as close to Barrow, Alaska as possible. I don't know.
Well, I don't really want to live in Alaska. I'm content in the Midwest. Thank you very much.
Oh, can you imagine living in Alaska? Okay, we're going to go off on a sidetrack. So today, Jess, we're going to talk about probably one of my favorite topics, and that is habits.
Oh, it's one of mine too. I am so excited for this conversation as a continuation of what we've been discussing with goals and vision and going pro. I mean, I think this falls right in line with that conversation perfectly.
Habits. I just absolutely, I don't know why. And maybe it was instilled in me with my father and my mother, just watching the repetitiveness of both of them being in the sports space. My mother was a tennis player. And just watching the habits, but more specifically, my father, watching him on the swim deck with the swimmers and just the repetitiveness that they would go through. And it was just the habits that they were creating, right? I heard something one time, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is that there's no such thing as a disciplined person. No such thing as a disciplined person. No one is truly disciplined. The people that look like they're disciplined are amazing habit creators.
Ooh, I like that a lot because, it's such a fascinating thing to discuss habits. One of the books that has become a minor obsession of mine is Willpower Doesn't Work. And I feel like this falls right in line with that. That's a Dr. Benjamin Hardy book. And the whole premise is that, it's not about that discipline, that willpower, and that's the thing that it creates change. It's changing your environment. That's right. And so part of changing your environment is consistency, the creation of habits.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
And I love that phrase.
I think we've read it in other books too. I can't remember which one it was, is that willpower is not on will call, right? And I like that. I mean, let's be honest here. I have one of my silly little kryptonites is cookies. Gosh, I love some cookies. Amelia made cookies from scratch this weekend. They were amazing. So if Coach Allen's listening to this, I had a cookie. I maybe had 6. And that, though, to me is if I go home, so this is about willpower, right? Willpower and the creation of habits. If I go home and it's later in the evening or the afternoon, my willpower is not strong enough for me not to eat one of those cookies. I'm just saying, it's not.
See, that is so funny because I I understand, and you are such a consistent human that
Hmm.
I find it interesting that that is your kryptonite, because from the day that I met you, health habits specifically, I feel like are at the top of your priority list.
100% they are. Though everything else, you can put Doritos in front of me. You can put chicken and waffles in. You can put anything in front of me, but a cookie. I'm gonna smash it. But the whole point of me sharing that is simple. And you said it, that
Mhm.
if you create the habit, and I think some of our past coaches have shared this with us, that if you can't always slay the dragon, right? You can't always slay the dragon, though you have to remove the dragon from your environment to set yourself up for having success. And if you want to
Mhm.
build habits, you have to remove the dragons from your life to be able to establish and maintain healthy habits. If I wanted Amelia, love her to pieces, for me to not eat a cookie, I could have said, no, you can't make cookies tonight. But what's the fun in that? Yeah, it's
Right.
make a few cookies. It's not going to kill me. So let's dive into more. Let's dive into more depth with habits. What do you like about
Okay.
habits?
Well, I like the fact that you can create very simple ones and create
Mm-hmm.
wins for yourself quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So, as somebody who has ADHD and is constantly seeking dopamine, I love the ability that I can create for myself in creating very small winnable gains.
Yeah.
So, people, like, we can take health as an example. People want to, get to the new year, or they have some epiphany and they're like, tomorrow's the day that I'm going to make all these changes, right? And let's face it, most of the time when somebody makes a big, almost like a life ultimatum, they fall off the wagon pretty damn fast.
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes because they're trying to change too many behaviors or
Mm,
change their environment too quickly and not create consistency with small wins or micro habits.
that's right. Yep. Like, give us an example. What in your world? What has
Mhm.
been something that you have established? Let's say this past year, in the
Yeah.
form of a habit that was a small little micro movement that then created this big ending piece for you.
Sure. So on the health side, I made one change to my diet that has drastically changed my health in the last year, and that was I decided I was going to focus on the quality of the food that I put in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So if it had refined sugar, honestly, if it even had a lot of grain or dairy in it, I didn't eat it. So I focused on very clean foods, proteins, fruits and vegetables. Got myself off of 2 out of 3 of the diabetic medications, dropped in the amount I needed on my third
So
one
good.
because, pregnancy, gestational diabetes, all those fun things. And I've lost 40 pounds and counting.
Whoop, whoop.
And I know. And it's a fun thing. But again, it wasn't, I woke up one morning and I was like, I'm going to change everything in my life. It was, I'm going to focus on one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing so, I went from having a very common ADHD relationship, with food, where it was like, oh, I need dopamine. I'm going to go eat something sugary or carby, and that'll give me that short term dopamine hit, to going, I don't even want that stuff anymore because it doesn't do it for me anymore. Because I changed the way that my brain associates with food. The same thing goes for business. I know most people feel like they spend more time in their email inbox than they do in any other tool or thing in their business. And I created a habit there where I look at my emails every morning. I use the power of Google to add certain ones to my to do list. And I filter out all the noise with filters so I don't even have to read them.
It's
And I
good.
spend less than 30 minutes a day in email now.
So good. So
So
good.
it can be done personally, it can be done professionally, but if you create a very simple system and create something for yourself that's doable and repeatable, it allows you to then stack other habits on top of that. So,
Right.
like with health, I started with food and then I added in exercise.
Yep, that's right. And congratulations, by the way. I mean, 40 pounds down is insane. Now, let's stay there for a second, though, because again, in the beginning, I mean, you've known about what the right
Mhm.
foods to eat, what not to eat. What caused the creation of, or the desire to have that outcome to then create the goal, to create the habit? Because ultimately, that's what it stems from, right? Is it
Mhm.
stem from seeing the future, if you will, of what healthier lifestyle you want, less
Yeah.
medication that you want, to come back to, okay, let's put this puzzle piece together and let's build a habit. So what was that for you?
Well, for me, it was truly embracing my word of the year, which was simplicity.
Hmm.
And I had this aha moment of the reason I've always failed is because I was trying to change the wrong things first.
Hmm.
And so I had to change my mindset and the way that I related to food before I could change anything else. Most often people are like, oh, well, I'm going to walk more, or I'm going to add in exercise, or I'm going to cut back on this one thing, whether it's soda or coffee or cookies or. And I realized that I had to change my mindset to then change my environment and change my behavior.
That's good.
And so I went for the root cause, which I mean, because as somebody who was trying to get pregnant and then somebody who got pregnant and had gestational diabetes, I already ate well. I already did well. Like, and I've done that. My kid is now 4. So it's not like I haven't done this for years, but yet they're like trying to use something like MyFitnessPal and track my calories and my macros and all of that wasn't working. So I knew that there was something else that actually had to be more simple that I had to stay consistent in, because the tracking felt dirty, felt wrong, and I usually fell off the wagon very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, okay, if that's not working for me, then I need to do an audit and figure out what habit I need to change first to create a domino effect for myself.
Yep. That's
And
good.
and so for me in that, and see with the business side, I know I mentioned email. My big thing there is to do as much work in as little time as possible that moves the needle forward in the business, so that I can spend time with my kid because he's important to me, spend time with my husband, and live a life by design. So it's the same exact thing, whether it's health or business. I wanted to create the first domino effect in buying back my time, and email was the place I had to start.
That's good. That's really, really good. And then I'm gonna add one more layer onto both the fitness and the coaching, or the business side, is now you have a coach, right? Now
Mhm.
you have a fitness and nutritional coach, so it adds a layer now of accountability to it, right?
Oh, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that I had to do the work personally to get there to
That's right.
make that coaching relationship be effective. But this is something you and I have talked about for years. It's okay to have more than one coach, and
Oh
you want to
yes.
have a coach that is chapters ahead of where you want to, where you are and where you want to be. And they've done the thing that you're aspiring to do.
Right.
I know we've talked about in past episodes things like you're the sum of the 5 people that you surround yourself with and all of that. And so it was one of those, okay, well, I've got some really great business coaches in my life, and I've seen change and growth on the business side because of working with and being in proximity to those people. And so in the health space, I made the same decision. But what's so funny is, I've been on a health journey my whole life because of so many different things. And I realized I needed to start interviewing them better and
Mm-hmm.
being more authentic and blunt, I guess, about my struggles and my issues and the way that my brain works,
Mm-hmm.
because I felt like the one size fits all approach was not going to work.
Yep.
And so I had to find somebody who invested in people and wanted to hold me accountable to myself at a much higher level than just log it in the MyFitnessPal app and do what it tells you to do.
Right. Yep. And right now, Alan's the master of that space. I mean, here's the thing.
Mhm.
He has authority, right? He has authority in that space. And so it's easy to follow. It's also easy to listen to because he knows what he's talking about. So that's really, really good. I wanted to go back because as those listening right now, when it comes to habits, there's a quadrant. I don't remember the name of this quadrant, but we'll just call it like the four learning phases, right? That you start with your unconscious incompetence. So you don't know what you don't know, right? And then you move to your conscious incompetence. So now you know what you don't know. Then you go to your conscious competence. So now you know what you know. And then you ultimately get to, and this is where habits, in my opinion, should live, to an unconscious competence. So now you don't have to think to do. And I'll say in my habit space, I may or may not have gotten into just a good, my wife, Dana, we have some really good, deep conversations that may or may not involve direct language at each other from time to time. But last week I wasn't 100%. And I was still doing my walks. I was still doing my exercise. Why? Because they were the habits that I had to have in the morning. I don't drink coffee. I have a routine in the morning because it's an unconscious competence that I have. And she was like, rest, stay in bed tomorrow, or at least don't go for a walk if it's cold outside, right? So I did not go outside. Now, here's the crazy part is I didn't. My son, he left, as I mentioned, he went down to Florida to play a tennis tournament. So I did get up at like 5 o'clock. I was already awake. That's another habit. And I gave him a big old hug goodbye. And then I just kind of sat there and read until, it was time to take my daughter to the tennis academy. And I didn't do anything that morning. But I'm going to tell you this. I felt naked. I felt like I was missing something. And I'm sharing that story because it's such an ingrained unconscious competence in my brain that I don't even have to think about doing it these days because it has developed into such a habit. My morning routine is I don't even have to think about my morning routine, and I can do it anywhere on the planet.
But the thing is you develop that habit over time, or that routine, over time with a series of habits.
That's correct.
And I love what you said about the whole conscious and unconscious competence versus incompetence, because that's going back to exactly what I was talking about. Is I had to do the work to identify what I was not competent in terms of a habit. And then I had to move into being conscious around it. So if we're talking food, it was, what am I putting in my face, right? And then now it took me about 3 months to really break the habit and not think about food all the time in the way that I had been thinking about it. So it was, I'm tired, or I'm understimulated in this space, or whatever the thing may be. I'm going to go seek that with food. And Adam knows this as well as some of my other people, like my husband makes fun of me for it. I replaced every single comfort food with melon. That was the thing that I became conscious about to break the habit of putting cookies or sweets or carbs in my face. And so every chip, every M&M, every whatever, every soda, everything got replaced only with melon.
Yeah.
And now I don't even need melon the way that I used to need it, because I'm not constantly seeking those snacks, because I've changed the relationship with food and it's unconscious now, although I still eat melon every day. And that's been going on for 6 months. But it was one of those things where I had to move from that unconscious to conscious back to now unconscious competence again in that space. And I think that's where, like, routines, like you're talking about, you wake up at a certain time, you work out a certain time, you eat a certain thing, you do all these things, but you didn't make all those changes at once.
That's right.
Because let's face it, anytime you try to change 2, 3, 5, 10 things at once, you are going to drop the ball somewhere.
Yep.
So routines are built by stacking habits. You move through the unconscious incompetence to unconscious competence. And when you finally hit that point, that's when you can stack a new habit on top of it.
So I want to, this is great. I want to talk about the difference between a routine and a habit.
Okay.
Right. And this would just be from my own personal experience and opinion. I believe a routine, right? So I think of a routine as your drive to the office, right? Most people probably do the exact same route every single day to the office, right? That would be a routine. Now, Could it be a habit that they drive that same way? It could be. It could be that they do it that way because that's their unconscious competence of how to get to the office. But I want to challenge, we'll stay in the fitness space. And then we can also take this into the coaching space.
Mm-hmm.
When I have every single day I track, and we've talked about tracking in the past, I track the number of day that it is that I'm going to work out, right? So when I come back from the gym, I walk to the gym, I walk home from the gym, and I track it, right? Today was day 289 out of, the goal was 280. So I far surpassed the goal. But here's the thing, is prior to having accountability in my life, I was just going to the gym. I was working out, but I was just going to the gym, as I call it. Now I'm like full on working out because I have massive accountability in a space, in a habit that I want to get better, right? I know how to work out. I know how to go to the gym. I know when to get there because my body walks me there without even thinking about it. Though I wanted to plus that area up this year. So I hired accountability to put in that space. And now my routine of going to the gym has then turned into a habit of busting my ass at the gym, right? So this fitness guy that we're following, their coach, he doesn't want me to do any cardio. He's like, you don't need cardio. If you work out hard enough, this isn't going to turn into a fitness podcast, but if you work out hard enough, your heart rate should be high enough as if you're doing cardio anyway. And you don't have to do the HIIT stuff. You can exercise and lift weights and still have a high heart rate if you're doing it right. So all that to be said, the difference, in my opinion, between a routine and a habit is in the habit space, you have a high degree of where are you going, what's your accountability, and what's the end result, right? That's my opinion. What do you think?
Ooh, that's interesting because I've always thought of a routine as a sequence of actions that you like regularly repeat. So to me, it's a sequence of, like I said, actions, behaviors, or habits. So it's a collection of them.
Okay.
So I see what you're saying, and I think that you can become aware of things that are habitually good for you, like what you've set up for success with your fitness and all of that. But you can have bad habits, right? You can have bad actions in a routine. And so I think what I would challenge listeners on, whether it's personal or business or both, when you're auditing your current routines and you want to level up a specific habit or action inside of it, that is where you can seek that accountability or consistent tracking like Adam is talking about.
Yep. That's really, really good. Let's take this habit-based conversation and let's move it more into the coaching world, right? So let's talk about some actual habits that we see our coaches have, our successful coaches in the community that are thriving in the space of their MRR, their ARR goals. What are we seeing? What are you seeing from your perspective that coaches are doing in the creation of the habits? So what specifically, and then the continuation of those habits?
Well, I think being aware and embracing our process, right? And understanding like their ideal client and how they help people. So that all comes from our blueprint that we teach. Being consistent in sharing that message with the right people, I think is the biggest habit that we see the successful coaches doing. So they know it, they've internalized it, they've personalized their messaging, but then they consistently share it across whatever platform aligns with the business that they're building. Because that's the other thing that is so unique about us is we don't have a one size fits all approach to building a coaching business. You are building something that is unique to you based on your past experiences and all the opportunities and employment and everything that you have that makes you special. And so you also get to choose what channels are you on. So some of our coaches are consistent across social media. Some of our coaches are consistent with podcasting. Some of our coaches are consistent with getting on stages. And it doesn't really matter which one because they each have built that business. But the key word under all of that is they've built a habit of consistency.
That's very true. I love all of that. I also want to talk about so we have the 3 E's in the blueprint, right? We have engage, we have embark, and we have enroll. And in the engage part, let's talk about our mindset, right? Let's talk about the real coach mindset method that we've established and built for them to create their own personal approach to it, but we've given them the menu to follow to build the mindset habit, and that is of a strong, mentally strong coach. Let's talk about that.
Sure. So what we've discovered is a lot of people, when they start a coaching business, they get very excited about it. They're like, yes, this is going to change my life. I'm going to make so much money. I'm going to be, whoever they idolize on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, they're going to be like, I'm going to be that person. I'm going to be a household name, whatever. And then, they do one thing and they tell one person that they're going to be a coach. And then there's some imposter syndrome that sneaks in, and then they fall flat on their faces and they're like, never mind. And you're laughing, but it's the truth, because we've seen it happen time and time again, where people get very energized and then they get very defeated very quickly because they don't create consistency around their coaching business and sharing their messaging.
Well, let's be real. They don't have a habit. They don't have a mental habit of establishing a strong mindset yet in the space of value offering from themselves. Right. So maybe in a different vertical they have, though we see it over and over and over. These amazingly successful people come into the coaching community that the moment that they tell the world, or at least they start to tell the world that they are a coach, they have no mental habit. They have nothing that is preparing them for either the crickets they're going to hear or the laughter that someone might give them in the general sense of, you're going to be a coach. They're not prepared mentally for that. So we give them a 14-day mindset habit, basically a tracking mechanism.
Yeah, it helps them establish it. So we outline specifically the behaviors and even the language that they should be using in that first 14 days. And then it's on them to take it after that. But we set them up for success if they are willing to do it and make that change and create that habit. And it's amazing what happens in even as little as 2 weeks, even though experts will tell you that it takes, anywhere from 66 days to a quarter, 12-week year. There's a bunch of different theories on extended time being necessary to truly create the habit. But our 14-day mindset challenge is really just to get the ball rolling. And then we teach in that how to extend that and add that into what you're doing as a routine after those 14 days.
That's right. Well, and again, it's to get the coach to the unconscious competence space of again, the habits, right? The habit of whatever it is you want to do and accomplish, right? Fill in the blank. Now, Jess, you created something here, and you created something here. Imagine that. And I want to put you on the spot. I want you to give it away for free. I want you to give it. This is coming right out of our community. So only the members usually get this, which you're getting ready to give them, or at least offer them. I want you to give them the tracking mechanism tell them about it first and then give it to them.
Sure. So I have a spreadsheet problem. I think we've mentioned that once or twice before.
Wait, stop. We got to fix it. It's not a problem. It's a unique God gift that I'm so blessed that you have this quirk about you that you build everything into a spreadsheet. So keep going. I'm sorry.
I do. Okay. No, I appreciate that. And yes. So what I did was I was thinking about what is a really easy way to track things that doesn't infringe on what I currently do on my phone or on my computer or in my calendar or anything like that. And so I created a very simple spreadsheet with checkboxes that allows you to put in the habits that you want And then you put a start date, day of the week, date on the calendar, and then you can click and drag it and it fills in the whole 90 days, and you can track those habits over 90 days. And so you can use one sheet per habit, or you can add a whole series of them if you want. Like if you've dabbled in a habit, but you haven't made it consistent, you could put 2 or 3 on there and that kind of thing. So I've built a habit tracking spreadsheet, and the trick behind it is to save it as an icon on your phone. So it's a direct link, and then you just go in every day and you click the next one, and then it tells you, hey, you're 100% complete for the day. And so it gives you that little dopamine hit that I was talking about of checking off a box. And it's so simple and it's so easy, and it takes 5 minutes to set up, kind of thing.
Yep.
So I will give that away if you DM me the word habits, HABITS, so make it plural, on my Instagram, which is Coach Jess Weber with 2 B's.
What can they expect from that though, right? So, okay, Jess, I'll put in a few things that I want to do, and what can they expect from that? Or let me rephrase it. What have we seen the coaches that use it? What have we seen from them?
We've seen growth. We've seen consistency in the habit that they choose to track. And the key here is pick something that you need to work on in your business. So in coaching with Dan Martell, one of his big things is 5 daily non-negotiables, right?
That's right.
Create 5 things that you're committed to every day of the week. And one of those for him is a minimum of 5 opens on Instagram, because that's the channel that he's chosen to connect with to grow his coaching business. So we teach our coaches, pick your channel and then pick a consistent habit or behavior in that space that you do every day. And so that's where this tracker becomes very helpful, because you pick something that's doable and attainable and not overwhelming, and then you track consistency for 90 days in that thing. So it's not get more every day. Don't start with, I'm going to talk to 1 person, 2 people, 3 people, up to 90 people, because by day 90, you're going to feel very overwhelmed with the number of people you have to talk to. But if you say, I'm going to talk to 5 people a day consistently for 90 days, that's 450 new people that you've talked to. And even if you convert, let's say 1% of that, that's 4.5 new people, right? That could be coaching clients for you in 90 days.
That's right.
So
that's right. Love that.
And that's 1%. That's really low. I'm just doing math because it's easy. So point being, consistency compounds. And so creating a very simple habit of tracking the metric that you need to grow your business, if it's posting once a day for 90 days. I like the idea of following up with 5 people based on posts every day, because again, that creates that conversation habit. But if you need to start somewhere small, start somewhere simple. I'm going to post 1 thing a day.
Yep, that's good. So again, go to Jess, Coach Jess Weber, 2 B's, DM her habits with an S, and go get this for yourself. I don't care what part of the year you're hearing this podcast in. It is never, ever, ever too late to start to establish and building habits that will move you, your life, your health, your fitness, your money, your goals forward, right? Habits are establishing and creating you as a disciplined person. Mm-hmm. You are not disciplined, right? And if you don't have habits, you will literally just, you're going to suck. I'm sorry.
Well, you're not a disciplined person, but you can create discipline in your life through habits.
It's those that don't have habits, and I'm not being judgmental here, and I'm not being negative or ugly to anybody. But if you're serious about your business, if you're serious about your life, you will create habits. Let me put it that way. You will create habits, and you will watch yourself in all aspects of your life, including your business, grow.
Yes. Well, success leaves clues, which means that you had to do something consistently to then reflect and look at those clues and see those clues. Success is not an overnight thing. Yep. I mean, and even the big people out there that you may be a household name for you, whether it's an author, a speaker, a podcaster, or whatever, they didn't become an overnight success. They did something consistently that led to their success. We call it the hockey stick. Yep. So you're going along, you're doing the thing, and then suddenly it shoots up because you've put in the reps, you've done the work for it to then show up and take off.
That's right. Yep, that's right. So again, that's the difference between being an amateur and a professional, right? I think that's going to be our theme as we go through this podcasting space, is defining the difference between an amateur and a professional. You got habits, you're a professional. No habits yet, you're on your way to becoming a professional. That's what I'm going to say. I want to be nice. That wasn't very nice for me to say that they suck. But at the same time, I mean it, right? I want to be a genuine person here, that if you're not establishing habits in the space of the area that you choose or intend to grow in, you're not going to achieve them, right? It's just going to take you much, much, much longer because you have no intentionality.
Right. Well, it goes back to willpower doesn't work.
That's right.
So you saying, I'm going to pick up my, bootstraps and pull on my boots and do the thing and muscle my way through, or I've also heard the analogy, put on my superhero cape. You could only grind so long before you fail.
That's right.
Because you're going to grind yourself right on out of it. And so by being consistent, it allows you continual perpetual motion that, snowballs to being something bigger and more successable, rather than grinding away into nothingness.
Yep, totally love that.
That was a lot of analogies rolled into one. Sorry.
We got the superhero, we got a cape. Yeah, we got all kinds of stuff there.
Well, I was sitting there thinking about, people who grind, like if you think about a grinding wheel, as time goes on, it wears down and it goes away.
That's right.
But if you throw, a small snowball down a hill and it rolls and picks up more snow, it gets larger. And so the idea is, you want the momentum, you want to be rolling, but which direction do you want to do? Do you want to get bigger or do you want to get smaller?
Yep. Good
and point. The difference there truly is a habit. So it's a change of behavior and environment, not a change in willpower.
Love it. Love it. And we're going to end this way. So if you want to continue to grow, you need to build the habit to keep listening to the I Love Coaching podcast, right? That's such a great habit to instill. So if you like this, thank you. And go subscribe to us, download it, and share it with other people, because we know that this value that we're going to continue to provide to everybody, Jess, is only going to make people better.
Exactly that.
Perfect. Jess Weber, thank you for your time and energy, and always your amazing brain on the I Love Coaching podcast.
Thank you, Adam. This was fun.
Always is. Okay, everybody, we will see you next time. As I said, if you like this, go download it and subscribe and leave us a good review. And by the way, this is something new I want to add. If you have a topic that you would like for us to discuss and have on the podcast, email me. Go to adam@ilovecoachingco.com. Shoot me an email and let me know what topic you would like to hear. Okay, thanks, everybody.
Or DM us on Instagram, because it's way easier that way.
Do it on Instagram as well. Adam R. Roach. See you then. Bye.